Okay, continuing on, advisor selection. Now, when picking an advisor, consider this. This is like a really big deal when you talk about um, selecting an advisor, and for a few reasons. One, you got to make sure that the advisor is going to be around by the time you um, begin working with them to the time of your completion. Sometimes advisors get other opportunities and they bolt out the door, so you want to make sure before you even consider selecting this to be your advisor that you know or have some general idea of whether or not they're going to be around to see your dissertation or thesis to an end. You want to talk to other graduate students simply because they may know some things about your advisor that you don't know. Believe it or not, there's a lot of things that go on in graduate school that you wouldn't believe that some students might be privy to and others just don't have it. Um, are you comfortable? Does this advisor mesh well with your personality? You two get along? Because I will tell you, as you're getting closer to the end of your dissertation, things will not get easier. So if you have personality conflicts, or if they don't really work well with your learning style or your research style or whatever other types of things that you have going on, it's going to be very difficult for things to get better as time goes on. Um, Also realize that some advisors are very directive, so they tell you exactly what they want you to do, and they're very sort of hands-on. And you have others who expect independence from day one, so they're not going to tell you too much. They're just going to kind of tell you, here's what you're supposed to do, have it to me by this time, and they kind of let you go off and do your own thing. Also, when picking an advisor, you also want to consider that your advisor is more important than your topic. And what I mean by that is going back to the earlier point, if your advisor is not around to finish this particular your particular dissertation or your thesis, then it doesn't matter what your topic may be. Also, let me say this regarding topic: if you pick the right advisor, that your topic is going to become easier because you may have similar interests. If you have similar interests, they will be able to guide you a little bit easier as opposed to you having a topic they're not really familiar with, that they're helping you with. You want to also ask the question of how many students does he or she already advise. So if they already have about 5 or 6 students, which is unheard of usually, that they're trying to advise and help get through a program, how much attention are you going to get? And how many students have graduated with this advisor? Another critical question. If the advisor has a track record for not necessarily helping students finish, or the students that work with this advisor are not really graduating, not just graduating, but graduating in a timely fashion, you may want to consider whether or not this advisor is for you, because this could delay your completion. Let's talk a little about your master's thesis. Um, do it if you can. I know for my program, it was something that was optional. Um, Looking back on it, I kind of wish I would have because it would certainly help me a little bit better if I ever decided to go into a doctoral program. So that's the one leg up you have if you can do a thesis, that it will help you transition into a doctoral program seamlessly. Also, consider the fact that um, a lot of times your thesis is going to be the groundwork for perhaps what your dissertation is going to be. So that's another great reason to do a thesis. Um, and it also helps you to experiment if this is the advisor that you want. If your advisor proves to be of little or no help at the thesis level, then the trend is probably going to continue at your dissertation level. So keep that in mind, that this is a great way to experiment with an advisor as well. And last but not least, it's the beginning of your publication record. Now, if you plan on having a career in academia or even in research, this is absolutely important of your ability to publish, especially at the research one institutions and the bigger schools. Now, if you plan on doing it, say at a community college, one of those really small liberal arts schools, maybe they don't expect it that much, but definitely at the research-based institutions and the larger public institutions, they definitely require that. Let's talk a little bit about research topics. When picking a research topic, think about your what you've already done with your master's thesis, the type of research you're interested in, um, whether or not your advisor has a level of expertise or credibility in that particular research topic, and um, the type of publications that you've been drawn to. So if you like this particular issue, it's probably a, a good way to see that if it's a green light for you to pursue a particular research topic. As it says here, what fascinates you, because the road for finishing and getting a doctorate degree is long. And so if you don't love your topic, chances are you may never finish it. And that's the word on the street. That's what a lot of people tell me. Um, Again, you want to experiment, but not too much. You want to sort of tweak until you finally get to that sweet spot, something that you're really interested in. You want to establish a criteria for success completion. So your research topic is going to allow you to do that. It can give you the right information, so it can really help you complete it a little bit faster if there's enough information out there about it. Now, what you don't want to do is pick a topic that no one's really researched too much. And you don't want to go into an overly saturated topic, but you also don't want a topic where there's no research out there. You want to kind of have a balance, because that's going to help with the being able to prove and argue, your dissertation. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about networking. Why scholars travel? What I mean by that is, oftentimes people like to stay at the institution where they got their undergraduate degree, as opposed to going someplace else in order to get their master's or doctorate degree. And what I'm going to say to that is, absolutely, you should leave. In fact, I think it looks bad when you stay at the same institution and you get all your degrees there, because it looks as if, one, you only have maybe one way of thinking, and two, you have limited experience. So at every level, you should strive to maybe go someplace different. With networking, you win as a team, you lose as a team. And this really deals more with when you're doing group projects with your colleagues and your classmates. And the reason why I say this is because a lot of times you're going to be judged as a group as opposed to individuals on group projects. So keep that in mind. Outside of the classroom, you will develop friendships with people who may not necessarily be the best study buddy. I know when I was in graduate school, there was a particular person that we got along great outside of the classroom. And we got along well in the classroom too, but I think there was an expectation that we were going to not only hang out, but we were going to also be study buddies too. And that's just not how I did things. I preferred to study and get work done by myself. And so you're not going to find everything in one person. This is just in life, not just in grad school, but this is an important life lesson. Everyone is not going to be everything to you. I see this in relationships. We expect people who either we are our significant others or our spouses, we expect them to be everything, and we can't. That's a lot of pressure, and it's really in many ways unfair. We start talking about mentors. Aside from advisors, your mentors from this point on should be diverse. So you shouldn't have, and I mean diverse in ethnic group wise, but I'm also talking about in terms of expertise. you should have many mentors that you can defer to about many different topics. And I would even go as far as say, have a spiritual mentor, have a few academic mentors, have a financial mentor, have mentors who can offer a variety of things that will help enrich your life. Continuing with networking, mentors matter. The reason why, as I explained, subject matter, but also because they open doors that you may not even know that are there or have access to. So mentoring definitely matters, and you should definitely take your time to court a mentor. Now, sometimes people may not necessarily be interested in you, and if they're not interested in you and want to teach you, then you have to move on. I don't care how brilliant this person may be and how wonderful this person may be. If they're not interested in sharing their knowledge with you or their resources, then this person is not the person for you. I touched on the fact that one school, 2 degrees too many. You don't want to get all your education from one institution. Definitely you want to attend conferences if possible, because this will give you a greater sense of what's happening in your industry. Even as a grad student, you need to make a point to attend conferences if you can. And by the way, this is where you find the opportunities. This is where you find the summer opportunities. This is where you find the research opportunities. This is where you really get a chance to get to know people in your profession. Um, I want to also say that professors talk and can be petty. Now, you may be thinking that, well, your whole um, mantra has been to be professional. Yes, you have to be professional. Understand this. When you are in graduate school, you're trying to obtain something from them. It's not the other way around. And so, yes, professors talk and they can be petty. And you have to realize that and understand that there are people just like you and I. So they're going to have their biases and their opinions, and they're going to talk amongst each other. So I think the best thing for you to do is to try to be on a even keel and just do your very best, and don't get involved in the politics. Whatever you do, do not get involved in the politics within your department, because if you do, you may find yourself aligning yourself with the wrong person. If that happens, you'll never, or let me not say never, your road to getting your doctorate or master's degree will become that much more difficult. Um, Attending socials and being friendly. Now, this is something that no one told me when I first started graduate school, and that is to not alienate yourself from your peers. I wasn't a fan of the social gatherings that people put together, my classmates mostly, because my whole thing was, well, I see you in class. Why do we need to do anything extra? But this is a time for you, again, to learn and find out what's happening. And you don't necessarily have to engage in drinking and anything else that they may be into, but you do need to make an appearance. I repeat, you do have to make an appearance. You stay there for a couple of hours, maybe not even a couple hours, maybe just an hour, just to show your face. But what you don't want to do, you don't want to inadvertently alienate yourself by not showing up. And besides, these are people that you're working with on projects. And let me tell you, if you're not careful, some people will throw you under the bus because some professors require that you rate each other's involvement and performance on a project. And so that may be part of your grade. So you don't want to make enemies of people. Also, just one last caveat about this. If you're all going into the same industry, these are going to be people that you're going to one day possibly work with or be in the same profession as. So you don't want to get a bad reputation for not attending a few social events. Let's talk a little bit about professionalism. Now, professors are colleagues, not babysitters. By the time you get to graduate school, they fully expect you to be on top of things. They're not going to hold your hand. They're going to give you an assignment and expect it to be done at a certain time. Now, some will give you extensions, and some will even allow you to take an incomplete for the semester, and you can then finish up the following semester. But Under no circumstances, under no circumstances, um, will they be babysitting you while you're in graduate school. Um, Speaking of which, you have to look like a graduate student. I'll never forget when I was in grad school. The first couple of classes, I came in there looking just like an undergraduate. You know, I had the flip flops and the sweats, and my professor pulled me to the side and simply just said, "I don't want to ever see you dressed like that again. You are now a professional, and we will treat you as such." And so, very stern conversation, but I got it and I understood. So I never dressed like an undergraduate and as a graduate student again. So people, again, will judge you based on a lot of things. So keep that in mind. Conference cocktails. This goes back to the point of going to conferences. Now, what I will say is go to your conferences, but please, by no means, get drunk. Yes, you heard it from me. Do not go to conferences and get drunk. Get drunk. Go to the social events. A lot of times they have I forgot what they're called, but basically they have these little socials at different conferences. They may be at the beginning of a conference or maybe even in the middle of a conference. But go to these socials, observe, network, be cordial to people, have some conversation, but don't drink a lot of alcohol. I mean, nothing's wrong, and I don't know what your drinking habits may be. Nothing's wrong with having a drink or maybe even two. But when you get to a point where you're tipsy or drunk, it's just not a good look. I heard so many stories of students at other institutions who would get drunk and they embarrass their entire department. And so what do you think happens when they get back to their school after they leave that conference? Well, let's just say that could have a huge effect on whether or not this person finishes their degree there, or whether or not how quickly they finish. Professionalism beyond the classroom. Now, um, keep in mind that in most cases, most colleges are nothing more than just uh, fish bowls, and so you're constantly being watched. So maintain your professionalism with not just your academics, but also with your assistantship and anything else you're doing. Remember, people are watching you, and if you are get the type of assistantship where you're supervising undergraduates, they're definitely watching you. Family meetings. What do I mean by family meetings? I mean that there will be times when you will be so frustrated with other people in your program that you literally will need other people for you to just blow off some steam with. And so one thing that I would say about grad school that everyone has to do is you have to form your own community. And it doesn't necessarily have to be your classmates, but if it is your classmates, they're going to know what you're talking about. But you have to have a level of social support while you're in grad school. It helps simply because you will have some days where just things will not be going your way. And you'll need someone to talk to about. And your family, your actual family, may not have any idea what you're talking about or what you're going through. Choose your alliances carefully. This goes back to an earlier point, especially with your professors. Whether you know it or not, depending on how big the department is, and depending upon what type of relationships that the professors have with each other, not all the professors get along. I know that seems shocking for some of you out there, but not all professors get along, and you want to be very careful who you align yourself with, because this is going to depend upon who they pick to be on your committees. The kind of committees that they're reviewing your dissertation. And just remember that it's all a game. You will have people playing head games with you. A lot of people see getting a doctorate degree or even a master's degree as sort of this hazing process, but to me, it's just all a game. So once you understand what the rules of engagement are, you'll do just fine. So let's talk a little bit about your key points. Now, consider all aspects before choosing a program. Now, what I mean by that is, it's a train again. I live very close to a train station, so I part in the train. Consider all aspects before choosing a program. And again, think about the cost. Think about the cost benefit ratio. In other words, uh, is earning this degree really going to give me more money or more opportunities? Because sometimes it's just not worth it. I've known people to not forego getting a master's degree, and they go back to a community college and get some type of skill or trade. I mean, that's becoming more and more common. So you got to ask yourself, is getting a master's degree or a dissertation really worth it? Um, Also consider um, other aspects, and just really in terms of time and energy, is it really worth it? And only you can decide that, no one else. Always be professional. We've gone to great detail about that. But remember, professionalism does not just carry over in the classroom. It's also at your assistantship and at conferences and other places, because you're representing your not only your department, but you're representing your institution when you go to these conferences. So keep that in mind. Um, Advisors are very important to your success in graduate school because they are the ones who help you finish. And if you and a professor, or I'm sorry, advisor, are at odds, then you may be spinning your wheels. You may never finish at that institution. So keep that in mind. Action steps for your continued learning. So, what are three sources in your environment that you have access to that can help you with this next stage of your life going off to graduate school? Who are two colleagues you can tap for support while striving to achieve this goal of applying to graduate school? And what is one action step you can take in the next week that will help you get one step closer to graduate school? I would say definitely do your research, do your due diligence with your research. And last but not least, additional resources, two books that one I've written, the other one I'm wrapping up. The first one is Up Your Org, a guide to help club advisors thrive. I have a chapter in there talking about whether or not you want to go off to grad school or you want to do something else. It's a great chapter. I highly recommend it. And then the No GRE Schools. It's a book I'm currently working on right now. It's going to give a listing of the schools that do not require the GRE, because I know for a lot of people, um, they're scared to death. They took the SAT. Maybe you're not a good test taker, but um, no GRE, the No GRE Schools book, I think will be a great resource. And with that being said, guys, I want to say thank you again for sticking through this module. I know it was pretty long. I had to break it up into different sections, but hope you got a lot out of it, and good luck. And if you have any questions or comments, concern, please, email me at info@upyourorg.com or info@tawanperry.com. Thanks again.